Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Pokemon Unite ranked, draft mode, the upcoming season, and what is to potentially come for the future of Pokemon Unite. So let me go ahead and set the stage. First and foremost, drop a like on the video, subscribe for future Pokemon Unite content. It's kind of nice to be back. We'll see how long it lasts for. But yeah, we want to talk a little bit about the game, and I haven't done a video like this in quite some time. So let's set the stage. Past season, EX Mons have been banned. It's been great, or this whole season, wherever you're watching that, whatever season we're in, EX Mons are banned. That's Pokemon, or Mewtwo, sorry, X and Y, and then Zacian. They're banned, right? They're just completely banned from ranked play. And, you know, I want to touch on that really briefly. While I think it's completely great for the game, it's also just super stupid, right? Like, it's silly that the game wants to lean so much into the IP that the game doesn't even really get to exist as the genre that it is, because if you had like a truly competitive MOBA, you just like wouldn't make characters like this to begin with. But I digress. They're not in master rank games. It does kind of, I think you have to make note of this, right? When we're talking about the rank ladder, when we're talking about the rank system in its totality, like holistically, that's the word I'm looking for. When you're talking about the rank ladder holistically, you have to technically understand that allowing EX Pokemon to be used prior to Master Rank technically leads to inflation, because someone could just one-trick Pokemon, like EX Pokemon or Mewtwo or Zacian, all the way up to the point of playing Masters, and then, you know, play something else that's strong. That said, the entirety of the rank system itself is kind of like an inflation ranked ladder, and, you know, I don't really have to harp on that too much. I definitely want to talk about draft. So it's a really good thing. I think it's like a middle ground, weird way to accomplish a goal, but it accomplishes a much needed goal, which is to get really, really overpowered Pokemon out of the game, essentially, because I don't really know that anybody plays anything other than ranked, and if you are, good for you. So draft is coming out, and this season we had no EX Pokemon, and the kind of question is, are we ready for draft? What is it going to look like, right? Is this something that's going to be good for the game? I've been, you know, getting a lot of comments and people asking me, hey Krashy, are you back to the game because of draft? And the answer is no, but kinda. The reason I'm back to the game is because, to be completely honest, this really has very little to do with Pokemon Unite. There's no other game I want to play. I was previously playing a MOBA for the past year in early access called Predecessor, and Predecessor has mostly let me down. I'm not going to harp on that too much. It's mostly let me down as a game. I don't really think it's going in a positive direction. So I'm kind of just taking a massive break from Predecessor, and, you know, what better to play than the game that I know that I enjoy, at least mechanically, to some degree. Haven't, you know, explored everything in, because there's a lot of Pokemon for me to come back to and try out Pokemon Unite again. So that's mostly why I'm back, to answer that question. But yes, of course, draft is exciting, right? I think for the longest time, there have been main core tenets that I've been asking for, or there have been main, let me say that again. There have been main core implementations that I've been asking for to the game. Now, one of them has been draft mode. Now, I think it's important for me to state what I believe draft mode is, and draft mode is a core tenet of a competitive MOBA, a ranked MOBA. Now, the first season of UCS was played without draft. Draft was not in the game at all, and then they implemented draft, and the entire second season of the Unite Championship Series, going all the way to Worlds in Japan, was played with draft, and I think that that was phenomenal. I think it's crazy, I will say, I think it's crazy that the game did not implement draft into ranked until coming up. It still hasn't happened. That's absolutely insane. I don't know who made the decision on that, but it is definitely insane. Now, when talking about draft, I think I have to take a second to explain my least favorite part about the draft, because even in a game like Pokemon Unite, where I feel like they've done a very lot of things wrong, they finally are doing something right by adding draft to not only to the game, but to ranked specifically, and I still feel like they happen to get it wrong somehow. So the Pokemon pool is at like 60, 70, something like that. We're somewhere in that range, and that's a lot of Pokemon. That's a lot of supporters, that's a lot of attackers, a lot of speedsters. It's a huge range of different kinds of Pokemon. they have blind bans. And now I've never seen this in any MOBA I've ever played. And let me explain what a blind ban to you is so I can be very specific. Blind bans are both teams have a ban phase. They ban at the same time. Whatever gets banned, they have one ban each. Whatever gets banned gets banned. So if both teams ban Buzzwole, Buzzwole's banned. If one team bans Hoopa and Buzzwole, then Hoopa and Buzzwole are banned. But it has the potential to be one ban or two bans, so to speak, because you don't really know what the other team is going to ban. And it's weird. I don't like it. A traditional ban phase, especially for like, you know, MOBAs that have lower rosters, is you just the same way you do your picks where you alternate in kind of a snake pick, you would do the same thing with your bans. So first and foremost, I would love to see them move away from the blind bans. I think that would make not only Pokemon Unite's draft way better, but it would make the UCS drafting better for competitive and esports. I would really, really love to see that. But on top of that, at a roster size the size that we have it, I definitely think that it's time to increase the number of bans. Now, conservatively, I could say that both teams should get 2 unique non-blind bans. That would be a total of 4 Pokemon banned in total before every single game. But honestly, not so conservatively, I could say that honestly, you could probably do 3. You could probably ban 6 Pokemon per game. Again, it would be non-blind bans, so it would be 6 Pokemon banned per game, and then you would have 10 picks. So for rank requirements, that would be anywhere between 14 to 16 Pokemon licenses required to play ranked, which I think is totally fine because I think getting access to ranked in Pokemon Unite is too easy anyways. But again, that's in, you know, holistically looking at the issues of the rank system, and the actual mode itself has a lot of issues, including the fact that basically anybody can play it at almost any stage in their Unite career. But that aside, I think conservatively 14 licenses required for ranked, so that way you could have 4 unique bans. So the way it would work is like one team would ban, the next team would ban, the first team would ban again, the next team would ban, and then you go straight into the snake draft. And this would allow teams to further control the meta, because right now you're already starting to see, especially at least, you know, if you're watching competitive, you're starting to see how the meta starts to shape up when some of the best picks are getting banned or picked really early, and you end up seeing not necessarily the same 10 Pokemon picked every single game, but kind of a mix and match of them. Whereas if there was more bans, there would be more opportunities to shuffle that around, you know, just a little bit more. So as far as ranked goes, I think that it's not really going to matter. You know, ranked has the kind of goofball matchmaking, really silly matches unless you're playing 5 stacks, and I don't really think it's going to make a huge difference. So regardless of all of that, I do think that Pokemon Unite's draft mode could be better. It could definitely be better and improved with the bans specifically, but I don't think it's actually going to matter for the majority of people playing ranked. Now, people, again, kind of sweeping back to that question, are you back on the game because of draft mode? The answer is yes and no, mostly no. My answer to that, you know, kind of knee-jerk answer has been no, not really. I mean, of course I'm excited that it's coming to the game, but it's not really going to change much. And what do I mean by that? So here is what it absolutely will change. There will be 10 unique Pokemon every game. There will not be any mirror matches. That is the #1 change that everyone will feel. It absolutely will feel good. It's going to feel like you can counter pick your actual Pokemon choices. It'll feel like you can tailor your builds a little bit more specifically towards the enemy team comp, you know, assault vests, you know, emblem pages, if that's still a thing, which I'm sure it will be for ranked, which is also weird. I'm just going to put a pin in the discussion to say really weird that we have emblems but not in competitive, and we have draft in competitive but not in ranked, and now we're about to have one and not the other. It's just weird, but I think I know why they do that. That's a discussion for another day. In any case, so yeah, I think that draft will absolutely feel good because we're not going to have the kind of mirror match meta that sometimes rolls up whenever a Pokemon is just very, very strong. But for the vast majority of us, I don't think it's really going to change the game very much. It's going to be one of those systems that comes into the game. It will feel very new and fresh and fun at the start, and then eventually it's just going to kind of fade to the back of our memory and become the status quo, right? Probably a month, maybe less, or maybe a full season. That would be, I know I just threw a huge range out there. It'll probably be about 1 month to the full season before we just don't even recognize that it's in the game anymore, right? It just becomes the status quo. We, you know, turn on ranked, we queue for it, or we turn on the game, we queue for ranked, and then we're drafting, right? It's gonna become very normalized very quickly. And the main reason why I don't really think this is gonna matter too much in, again, like a holistic sense or a holistic view of the entirety of the game and the way that we interact with it as ranked players, is that you know, the people you play with are bozos. Like, you're playing with absolute clowns all day long, and they're not going to know how to draft. They're not going to know how to ban. They're not going to pick picks for you so that way they can swap. It's going to just get rid of mirror matches. This is just like draft light, where it's going to be, you know, a literal emulation of what a UCS match would look like, but the drafts will in no way, shape, or form look like what a UCS match would look like, unless, and this is the kind of the root of the discussion that I wanted to get to, unless you're playing 5 stacks. So somehow, yet again, Pokemon Unite finds a unique way to continue to push the game for 5 stacks, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It really isn't, but it's definitely something to make note of. I think that Pokemon Unite is best played competitively at the esports level. Like, that's where I have the most fun watching. I think it's probably where the game is played the most fun. It's probably just the best thing about the game entirely. Then outside of that, I think, especially coming up with draft in the ranked season, 5 stacking will be the best way to play. It will be where you can truly get a team together. I'm not going to say everybody should do it. I probably won't do it. When I say the best way to play, I don't mean like most fun, but like truly experiencing the game the way it's meant to be played. You can get a team together and you can truly practice, because the problem with practicing now as a team is if you boot up the game and you turn on a ranked game, you're not really going to get practice because you don't get to draft against another team, and you probably won't even play against good teams anyway. So the top teams, the very, very tippity top teams, are probably never going to really opt into playing ranked for practice. They may do it just to grind the ladder a little bit or to get a little bit of stream content or YouTube content, but they're probably never going to actually use it for practice. But anyone below a very top tier level of pro play, so probably anywhere between like tier 3 pros, like people that are getting close to breaking into that really higher upper echelon of the scene, and everybody all the way down to the very beginner teams, people that are getting first rounded, you know, they lose 2 matches in a tournament and they're out, they can actually turn on the game, queue for ranked, and get some pretty phenomenal practice. So I think that's going to be a really awesome thing to be able to see, maybe even something to engage with myself. You know, maybe I will just pick up 4 people from stream, you know, we'll assign some roles and we'll get in ranked and we'll play some games. So who knows? I think that that's really where draft is going to impact the game. So are we ready for draft? Absolutely. We've been ready for 2 years. Do I think it's going to impact our games? You know, not really. No, not really. I think it's going to be new, fresh, fun, an absolute W. That's let me tell you that much. It's a W no matter how you look at it, but I don't think it's going to impact our games very much. I think it'll become the status quo very quickly. It'll become something that we get very used to engaging with, and then, you know, it'll be business as usual, still with the crazy matches. Again, holistically looking at the rank system, terrible system, absolutely terrible system. You're gonna have negative win rate people climbing their way to masters and then impacting draft. You know, pick and lane Greninja all the same. So friends, thank you so much for watching. I definitely do appreciate it. Drop a like on the video, subscribe for future Pokemon Unite content. As always, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.